All right, so today we're talking about the racks. And there's basically three types of racks in Ableton Live. There are the drum racks, there's the effects racks, and there's the instrument racks. And if we go over here and look on the left, you can get to these in a few different places. You can get to the drum racks, you can go into the drums section. Right over here on the left, you can see drums, and up here, you can see drum rack. Now, any one of these kits, these things are all kits here, these are all drum racks as well. And the drum racks is just where you put all your drum samples and you can play them back. Then you also have instrument racks. If I click over here on instruments, there's an instrument rack right here. And if you flip this down, you can see there's already some presets and stuff in here that they've made for you. But you can also just drag an empty instrument rack. And if you go look in audio effects, there is a audio effect rack right here. And again, there's some presets in here. If you flip this little thing down, there's some presets that you can get to in here. And those are the three main types of racks. Those are the ones we're going to be dealing with today. There's no, there is also a MIDI effect rack as well, but we're not going to really be talking about that too much in this course. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this course. So let's start with the drum racks. And I'm just going to pull over an empty drum rack. I'm just going to click on this and drag it in here. So I now have an empty drum rack here. And let's just take a look at what we're dealing with here. So in the drum rack, you're going to see it looks kind of like this little diagram that I've drawn here. And on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of pads. And on the right-hand side, it shows you the chain that is in each pad. Now, what you do is, see, here's our pads here. And if we just zoom in on this, I'm going to delete this utility. Over here, we have a couple of different little buttons that show or hide things. So if I click on these, I can show or hide different things. So if I click on this one, it shows my macro knobs, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. And then over here, it shows me my chains for like mixing and stuff like that. And then there's like an I/O section. When I click on this, you see it opens up this I/O section and stuff down here. And you're going to see this start to populate once we actually throw some samples in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up here to my drum hits up here in the upper left-hand corner. See in the collections area here in the categories, we've got drums here, and then my drum hits are up here. When I pull this down, and I'm going to go in here, and all these different samples, right? I have different drum hits. So I can take these and I can drag them in, and I drag one in, I click and drag it, and I drop it right where I want it to be. And now I can play that with my keyboard. Right, so I've got a kick drum there, and if I want to pull in a snare drum, I can go over here to my snare drums, open up the snare drums, and I click on it, and it will play it for me. Now, the reason why it's playing when I use my arrow keys on my keyboard to go up and down is because I've got this little button turned on right here. See, this is my sample preview button here, so I can turn that on, and it will play a preview of the sample when I use my arrow keys to go up and down. So let's say I like this one here, I can drag this down here. So now, like that, and I can play a little drum beat there. Rilla, what is up, dude? How you doing, man? Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in a hand clap there as well. So let's grab a hand clap over here, up in my claps. And these here, all these drum hits are just individual drum samples that come with Ableton Live. Okay, there we go, there's that one. Cool. So I can make, I'm hearing my different sounds. There we go. Let's add a hi-hat in here. And if you want to control the level of your samples when you're auditioning them, it's right down here in the lower right-hand corner over here. this little knob here is your audition sample level, and it's also the level of your metronome as well. So I'm just going to put that right in the middle there, and there you go. Here, we'll just use this one here, throw that in, throw this one in. There you go, put that one there, boom. So now I've got cool. So now I've got a little drum kit that I can just kind of play some beats on real quick. Right, so I can play a little drum beat like that. And these samples, you'll notice that when I play them, if you look at my screen here, it actually shows me which sample I'm playing as I play it. And the reason why it's doing that is because this button right here is on. If I open up my information view here, this is my auto select button. So you want to keep that one on. I usually keep that one on when I'm doing this stuff so I can see exactly what I'm playing around with here. So you can drag samples onto any of the pads. It doesn't really matter which pad you drag a sample onto. You'll notice if you mouse over the pads that they do have names associated with them, but you can ignore those names. So if I look down here, see how down at the bottom down here it shows me like side stick or low floor tom or high floor tom. These are just suggestions for a general MIDI kit. And a general MIDI kit basically is a basic MIDI drum kit that has certain types of sounds on certain notes. So for example, the kick is on the C, the snare drum is on the D, the side stick is on the C sharp, the hand clap is on the D sharp, the hi-hats open and closed are on the F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp, the toms are on F, G, A, B, like that kind of stuff. And that way, whenever you change your drum kit, the drum pattern will stay very, very similar. So if I have like a drum pattern, for example, if I make a drum pattern here, let's just make a 2-bar pattern here, and let's there we go. Cool. So I got that there. Just gonna record in here. Oops, we were supposed to be playing. Here, let's do that again. Cool. So I've got this little drum beat here. Now, if I take this drum beat and open up a different kit, the drum beat should still sound the same. So I'm going to go ahead and save this drum kit real quick. Just give it a name. We'll call this one Tony Kit 1. It did quantize automatically because I have my automatic quantize turned on. So I just saved it here as Tony Kit 1. Now if I go over and grab a different drum kit in here, let's grab this 808 drum kit and open this one up. So now it's basically the same sounds. They're a bit different because it's a different drum kit, but and to open up a different sound, different kit, I just go ahead and double click on it. You hear how it's always a kick, it's always a clap, it's always a hi-hat. And the reason why is because I set my samples up on the right notes. And I know how to do that just because I've been doing this for such a long time. So I'm going to go back here and grab my Tony kit again, the one we were working with before. Cool. All right. So I can drag samples onto any of these pads, but if you want to keep it at least with your core sounds, kick drums, snare drums, hi-hats, and like toms, I recommend putting the core sounds on certain notes just to kind of keep it simple and kind of standard with everything else. Okay. So also, each pad is its own chain of instruments and effects. Okay, so in this case, the drum rack is like this, the black one here, and then the chain is on each pad, the red one here, and inside that pad, we can have own like instruments and effects. So right here, for example, I've got my kick drum. When I dragged my kick drum onto here, it dragged a sample on here. Hey, Staffo, what's up, dude? Happy New Year. It dragged a sample onto here. Let me just go ahead and put Staffo's name in here. There we go. Cool. So when I did that, we can see it went ahead, it put a simpler instrument in here. And a simpler instrument is what we're going to talk about when we talk about sampling. So I put this in here, and inside of that is the sample. So I can go ahead and change the sample up a bit. Go ahead and make some adjustments here. There we go. Now my sound is much shorter. Now, if I want to put a little bit of bump on that, let's compress it a little bit and maybe add a little distortion to it just to give it a little bit of roughness here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my let's put a glue compressor on here, and I can do is I can just drag it directly onto the pad and let go, and it will automatically just put it in here. Okay. There we go. Cool. Now it's got that smack on the beginning. There we go. Cool. So now it's a very different sound from that, but it's just on that kick drum sound. Maybe balancing that low end a little bit. There we go. Right? So it's just on that low end. If I want to go ahead and adjust my clap sound, turn the snap off. Snap is like a thing. It's on by default. I'm not a huge fan of that, actually. There we go. What's that? Yeah, I like the beginning of that there. And let's put a filter on this clap sound. So I just go ahead and drag the filter down here onto my clap sound right there, and it puts the filter right after it. I'm going to go ahead and turn that up. There we go. There we go. That's kind of painful. Turn that down. There we go. Cool. So I got that there. So now I got that different sound. So the filter's just on that hand clap. Okay. So as you can see, I can put different effects on different drums within my kit. And it's really easy to do that. So each one of these is its own chain of instruments and effects. So the way this works is you've got the drum rack on the top. The drum rack is the overall thing, and then each one has a chain, and then it's got instruments and effects. So you can have, within one drum rack, you can have 128 different chains, one per MIDI note. And each one of those chains can have one instrument and lots of effects. And third-party instruments and effects are okay. So the most basic way to use a drum rack is just to drag samples onto each pad. These can be your own samples. They can be samples that come with Ableton Live. You can grab them from anywhere in the whole world. Any samples you can bring in, you can put them on there. And it's super easy, just drag and drop them on there. If you want to put your own effects on there, you can put your own effects, and then you just click the little disk button here to save it. So it makes it quite easy to do that. Now, one thing that's really cool about this though, because every pad can have its own instruments and effects, these instruments do not have to be samples. A sample is an easy way to do it, but it doesn't have to be a sample. So let me go ahead and up here on this note right here, C2, let's go ahead and put a massive plugin in here. I'm going to drag massive right on here. I just click and drag it on there, and now when I put it on there, when I play C2, it's actually playing massive. Now, if I play any other key on my keyboard, it's not going to play anything. It's going to play whatever samples are on there. But if I play that C2, it's going to play my massive sound. And the reason why is because you can see the different pads that we've dropped samples or instruments onto are right here. And if we go over here on the left, see if I click and drag this black box here up and down, it shows different notes. Okay, well that's the notes on my keyboard, on my computer keyboard. So massive is right here on C2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a percussion sound in massive here. I'm going to go into my browser. I'm going to go into, let's see, percussion over here. Let's grab a synthetic perc hit. Found objects. Hear what that sounds like. Nope, definitely not. Small metal. Bongos. Okay, this one's all right. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the volume on this. Let's see. Yeah, hold on. Let me open up the filter on the hi-hat here, on the hand clap here. Cool. And I'm gonna make some adjustments to the sound right here. So what you can do is, we talked about these buttons here earlier. So I'm gonna click on this one, and this one's gonna pull up a mixer of sorts. We can see here's all my volume levels of stuff. I'm gonna turn this one down a little bit, so I'm just gonna click and drag down. There we go, like that. Now, there is another way you can pull up a mixer in the drum racks, and that's over here on the left-hand side, or well, on the track itself, actually. Let me just go ahead and close this out. We don't need that right now. You see this little arrow right here? This little arrow right here opens up all of your different samples that you have in that drum rack. So it's going to be more or less, and each one has its own mixer here. Cool. So I can go ahead and I've got this here. Let me just record in like a little. Now I can play with these. And I can make that sound change in real time. And it becomes more organic. Even though it's a pretty synthy sounding sound, it becomes more organic. You can change things and do more stuff with it if it's a synth than rather if it's a sample. So that's just one example of what you can do with this. And just kind of like we're touching the surface of this, but I just want to give you an example of what you can do with that. So I've got this in here now, and I can do anything I want. Now let's say if I wanted to have this massive be a different pitch. Well, right now, the pitch that it's playing is one specific pitch, but I can actually change that pitch. Unfortunately, with this, you can't program in melodies and stuff, but you can change which pitch it's playing. So right now it's playing just C2, or it's playing C3 rather. This is here is the pitch that we're playing. You can see how it says play. The way I got to this was I opened up the I/O section here, down here. And now it shows me the receive note and the play note. The receive note is the note that it's getting from the keyboard, where I'm playing it on the keyboard. And the play note is the note that it's sending out to the synthesizer. So if I want this to be a higher pitch, check this out. I'm going to solo it. There we go. Cool. Let's see about different sounds. Let's change that sound. I'm not a huge fan of that sound. Let's see if we can get something better in here. Let's see. That's better. Yeah, better. Cool. Cool. So I can go ahead and mess with those different knobs in here. This one's a better sound, I think, for this kind of stuff. So I can change what note it's playing over here with this play note here. So if my key of my song is in the key of like G, I can put it into G right here, and now I've got the key of my song. Cool. All right. So I hope that kind of shows you a little bit about what to do with this. And the way we do this in here, and this is kind of it's gone over in the notes here, is to use a synth on a drum rack. First, you drag the plugin onto a pad. Here, let's go ahead and do this step by step. I'm going to go ahead and delete this out. So drag the plugin onto the pad. So I'm going to go over here. Oops. And let's just keep that there. Let's grab a plugin. Let's use Massive X this time. Drag it on. Show the rack chain list. That's this one right here. Show that. Open the drum rack I/O section. That's the I/O section right there. Receive is the input note from your controller. Play is the note that will be played in the synth. So make sure that you put it into the key of the song. So for example, if the key of the song is G, make sure you put that on a G. Okay. Find a sound that you like. So let's go in here to my types of sounds, and let's grab a percussion sound, and there we go. And you can see different things. And I can make adjustments to this. Cool. I can make different adjustments to that. Now remember, as it says in the notes here, synths use more processor power than samples. They use more processor power than samples. A sample is just playing back a sound. It's just playing back a recording. It's super easy on your CPU. If you start throwing a lot of synthesizers into the drum racks, then you're going to be eating up your computer's power. I'm not showing you this to recommend that you use a lot of synthesizers in drum racks. I'm just showing you this because it's something that you can do that's pretty cool. The normal way to use drum racks is with samples, just dragging samples on there. That's the way most people use it. That's the main way to use it. This is just a special way that you can use it for those of you who want to go a little bit further than just dragging samples onto it. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead